At the end of today's video, I've included a short segment, a quick tour around Yokosuka Port. It's a beautifully protected harbor with direct access to Tokyo Bay, and it gives you a real sense of how this base operates day to day. So hop on and take a ride around the pond with me. So today I'm standing here at Yokosuka Port, home to both the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force and the United States Navy's 7th Fleet, the largest forward deployed fleet in the U.S. Navy. You can see some of it right behind me: destroyers, submarines, maybe even a helicopter carrier or two. This port isn't just another base. It's the operational heart of America's naval presence in the Indo-Pacific. The 7th Fleet, headquartered right here at Fleet Activities Yokosuka, is home to the USS George Washington, the only permanently forward-deployed aircraft carrier in the world. And yep, she's nuclear-powered, meaning she can sail for over 20 years without refueling. That's not just impressive engineering. That's a floating city with unlimited mileage. Now, she replaces the USS Ronald Reagan, who's back in the United States getting a re-energized, so to speak. So here's what makes this setup unique. Permanently forward deployed means this ship doesn't rotate back to the U.S. after each deployment. Instead, she's home ported right here in Japan, with her crew, rotations and maintenance handled locally. And forward deployed means being stationed close to potential hotspots, the Indo-Pacific region, so the U.S. can respond quickly when trouble brews. For my fellow ship geeks out there, the George Washington's designation is CVN 73. CV for carrier vessel, and N for nuclear. So yeah, she's got a whole lot of power packed under that deck. That's commitment. The 7th Fleet's area of responsibility stretches across the Western Pacific and the Indian Ocean. It's a massive region, vital to global trade and security. The command here, Naval Forces Japan, oversees all U.S. Navy installations in Japan and serves as the main liaison with the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force. That partnership keeps growing. A new joint initiative between the U.S. Navy and Japanese shipyards will expand maintenance, repair, and overhaul capabilities right here in Japan, meaning less downtime, faster readiness, and greater flexibility when it matters most. Major bases like Yokosuka and Sasebo are essential hubs, not just for naval operations, but for humanitarian missions and regional deterrence. Together, they help maintain peace in a region facing challenges from China, North Korea, and Russia. And that cooperation isn't just on paper. The U.S. Navy and Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force conduct regular joint exercise, like SEACAT and RIMPAC, building the kind of trust that keeps the Indo-Pacific stable. The 7-year occupation from 1945 to 1952 reshaped everything. A new constitution banning war, women's right to vote, education reform, and land for farmers. Democracy took root. By the early 1950s, Japan stood again not with tanks, but with tools, ideas, and factories. And when the troops left, emotions ran high: gratitude, pride, and relief. But here's the thing, the U.S. never really left. The bases stayed, the jets stayed. The occupation ended, but the alliance began. From ashes to alliances, that's how Japan went from World War II to Wi-Fi in one lifetime. And as someone who didn't grow up in a uniform, but whose family lived around military service and police work, it's fascinating to see the role the U.S. military plays here today, not just in history, but in shaping Japan's future. For those of us living here, the U.S. presence isn't just history, it's daily life. You see it here in Yokosuka, with Navy ships docked in the harbor, and in Okinawa, where Air Force jets from Kadena roar across the sky. Together, they're a visible reminder of the alliance that's kept the peace in the Pacific for over 70 years. The U.S. 7th Fleet, based right here, is the world's largest forward-deployed fleet, keeping sea lanes open and ready to respond to any crisis in the Indo-Pacific. There's about 55,000 U.S. service members stationed across Japan, around 57 facilities, with roughly 70% of those in Okinawa. Japan's self-defense forces are equally vital, about 247,000 active personnel across its ground, maritime and air branches. Their mission is strictly defensive, but their coordination with the U.S. forces is world-class. From the Army's Camp Zama and Air Force at Atsugi to Kadena, joint operations strengthen security, training, and disaster response throughout the region. Together, this U.S.-Japan alliance remains the cornerstone of peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific, built not on conquest, but on trust, shared values, and the determination to deter aggression in an unpredictable neighborhood. By the way, it's not just military operations that bring our two nations together. When Japan faced one of the darkest moments, the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami on March 11, 2011, the U.S. and Japan responded side by side in Operation Tomodachi, one of the largest joint humanitarian missions in history. U.S. ships, aircraft, and personnel worked with Japan's self-defense forces to deliver food, medical aid, and supplies to devastated communities. Together, we helped ease the pain of that disaster. It showed the world what can happen when two former enemies stand united, not in war, but in compassion. Operation Tomodachi reminded us that beyond strategy and defense, this alliance is built on humanity, respect, and friendship. You know, living overseas, you start to lose that feeling of being under your country's protective umbrella. But standing here, I'm reminded that I live only 35 minutes from that umbrella. This partnership isn't just in steel and ships. It's in trust and cooperation that's lasted generations. And just this past week, the U.S. President, along with the Secretaries of Defense, State, and Treasury Departments, visited Japan to meet with Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi and her new administration, reaffirming the strength of this alliance and Japan's vital role in maintaining peace across the Indo-Pacific. For me as an American living here, that means something. Even halfway around the world, the connection to home and to shared purpose is still right here. Since it's also Veterans Day week and the Marine Corps birthday, I want to take a moment to honor those who've served, including one Marine who meant the world to me, my dad. As we mark Veterans Day, I want to recognize the people behind this alliance, the men and women who've worn the uniform. For nearly 80 years, U.S. service members have stood watch here, not as conquerors, but as partners and protectors. Many came young, served with pride, and left a piece of themselves behind, or even found their better halves here. To those of you watching who have served or supported someone who did, thank you. Your dedication helped turn devastation into peace and prosperity. And a special shout out to the United States Marine Corps, celebrating its 250th birthday this week. That one's close to my heart. My father was a very proud Marine. Growing up, he taught us about the Corps, its history, its toughness, its values, honor, courage, and commitment. To him, once a Marine, always a Marine wasn't a slogan, it was a way of life. So this week I say, Semper Fi, Dad. And to all Marines past and present, thank you for your service and sacrifice. When I look at Japan today, the peace, the prosperity, the order, I see how far this country has come. Rising from the ashes to become one of the top economies in the world. That's a testament to the resilience of the Japanese people. And yes, to the enduring friendship and support of the United States. The real strength of this alliance isn't in weapons or treaties, it's in the human connection built over generations between two nations that once faced each other across the battlefield and now stand together for peace. Happy Veterans Day, everybody, and happy birthday, Marine Corps. Let's call this Total Recall. Hoorah! As we approach the Marine Corps birthday, I can't help but remember the story our dad used to tell about why he joined the Marines instead of the Army during the Korean War draft. He told us that he and his buddy went down to the draft center in downtown Chicago to take their physical. A Marine recruiter caught sight of them in the hallway. You know how that goes. What starts as casual chat turns into a full-blown sales pitch. Dad told the Marine they were there for their draft physical and likely headed to the Army. Now, Dad came from a big family, 6 sisters, and he was the only son. So the idea of getting things moving quickly and maybe easing the burden at home sounded pretty good to him. The recruiter, anxious to close the deal, starts painting a picture. Son, he says, you know, if you go to the Army, they're going to send you to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. It's cold, rainy, and nothing but mud. Dad asked, well, how about the Marines? The recruiter smiled and said, you're going to train in sunny Southern California. Coming from Chicago, that sounded like paradise, but he wasn't done. The Marine leans in and says, I'll let you in on a little secret. The Marines have the best chow in the military and the best looking uniforms that drive women crazy. And that was it. Hook, line, and sinker. Without hesitation, Dad and his buddy signed on the dotted line. Of course, years later, Dad would laugh and say, that lion SOB recruiter. But you know what? He was proud, fiercely proud, to be a Marine. And when he passed, the Corps showed up to see him off, standing tall in those same sharp uniforms that first caught his eyes all those years ago. Semper Fi, Dad. Also, check out the video description below. I've attached a link to an outstanding U.S. Marine Corps feature celebrating their 250th birthday. It's a powerful look at what our Marines and service members do every day to protect our freedom and maintain peace around the world. It's definitely worth the watch, and as always, thank you for joining me. And once again, time for a quick shout out. NavigatorJapan.com. That's all one word. It's a great online information hub that tackles real questions about real issues people face living in Japan. Whether you're wondering about your rights when leaving a job, dealing with the headaches of Japanese tax filings, or trying to understand those mandatory annual health checkups, you'll find clear, reliable answers all in one place. So stay informed. Check out navigatorjapan.com today. Tell them Marco sent you, and you'll be glad you did.